Hi everybody, today I'm going to show you some different inking techniques. So the supplies that you need will be paper, Sharpie, some sort of washable marker like a Crayola or a Rose Art marker, watercolor, I have a black one right here, a cup with some water in it, a paintbrush, and a normal ballpoint pen. All of those items I am using in black so that we get kind of the same value across. Okay, so you can see here we will be practicing 13 different techniques. So you'll need to divide your paper into these 13 boxes. So I have 12 here that are the same size, and then one on the end that is the length of the paper. Okay, so the first technique that we're going to practice is just a solid line. So some of these are pretty simple and you already know how to do them, but I just want you to get used to the different ways that you can use ink when you're drawing. So a solid line. I'm going to use both my Sharpie and my pen, and I'm just going to draw 3 solid lines there, and I'm going to do the same thing with my pen. Okay, so nothing fancy with that one. The next one that I'm going to practice here is a sketch line. So instead of doing a solid line like I did up here, I'm just kind of sketching it out right there. And I'm going to do that 3 times. And I'll do the same thing with my Sharpie. Okay, so there's my solid line, sketch line. These next 6, I'm going to draw a circle in these boxes. And I'm going to draw it with my Sharpie. You can draw it with your pen. It doesn't matter. But I want to draw 3 circles so that we can kind of make them look like spheres with shading. Okay. So this first one I'm going to do is called hatching. And hatching is just using straight lines to create the illusion of shadow. So I'm just going to, you can use either. I'm going to actually use my pen here. You can use your pen or your Sharpie. You can go back and forth between them. It's up to you. But I'm just doing straight lines, and they can vary in length and how close they are together. The closer they are, the darker the value will be. Okay, so there's just hatching. The next one we're going to do is cross contour. So it's lines that are going the direction of my object. So this is a curve, so I want to follow that curve of the circle to make it look like it's a ball or a sphere. And again, the farther away I am, the lighter it is. I'm going to darken this by adding more lines on top of each other, going in that direction. Okay, so cross contour. The next one is cross hatching. So remember, we've done this with our oil pastels and our colored pencils. It's when your lines crisscross over top of one another, and you can go multiple directions. They don't just have to cross one way, but I'm going to go ahead and do my lines, so it's almost like I'm doing the regular hatching first. And then I'm going to cross them. And I can even go this way. So cross hatching. The next one is stippling, so that's lots of little dots. I am going to switch to my Sharpie. It shows up and works a little bit better. So all I'm doing are little dots. And again, the closer the dots, the darker the value. The farther apart the dots are, the lighter the value. I could keep going, but we'll just stop there. Okay, so that one's stippling. The next one is scumbling, so I'm going to go back to using my pen. This is like I'm scribbling almost. I'm going in little curly lines, and again, just overlapping them. To get my different values here. The next one we're going to skip real quick, and you can make a choice with what we're going to do. And we're going to go ahead and come to these this long section here. This one is what we call pulled lines. So normally when I'm drawing, I'm just using the curve of my wrist when I draw to make lines. But what we're going to do is go from top to bottom, and you can see my whole arm is pulling across that page. So just giving you a different type of movement and different kind of solid line as you're going. So I'm going to do this again both with Sharpie and with my pen, and I'm just going to come across my page. And I can do wavy lines or straight lines. It's up to you. And I want to do that with my pen now. Same thing. Pull across. And it just gives you a nice solid long line. Okay, the next two that we're going to do is going to kind of involve painting. We would normally use India ink, but I do not have that for you to use. But you can buy it at different craft stores around. But for today, we're just going to use our black watercolor paint and our washable marker. So the first one we're going to practice is our black watercolor paint. So I have a very thin brush here to get a nice line, and I'm going to get it just a little bit wet and wipe it right on the top of that watercolor, and I just want to paint different lines. And I can kind of see how the paint fades. I can get thick lines, straight lines, really thin lines, and kind of just play around with that. Okay. The next one we're going to do with this same watercolor paint is called just a wash. So I'm going to use a little bit more water with that ink or watercolor paint, and I'm going to paint that onto my surface here. And the more water I add, it's going to fade out and give me kind of like a value scale here. And I can come in if I want this section to be a little bit darker. And fade that. Okay. The next one we're going to do those same two techniques, but this time we're going to use the washable marker. Again, you can use like a Crayola, Rosart, Prang marker. As long as it says washable, then you can use that. Sharpies are not washable markers. They are permanent markers, so that will not work for this. So I'm going to color right onto my table. I recommend that you first ask your parents, or you can get just something glossy or something shiny, like a plate, like a styrofoam plate, or a paper plate or a glass plate, something that has a gloss coat to it, and you won't ruin your surface here. But since my table is glossy, I'm going to color right onto my table. Again, make sure that you are asking first before you do this, and that it's a washable marker. Then what I'm going to do is take that water, and I'm going to paint right over top of this, or add that to that marker. And now I can paint with the marker. Kind of a fun technique. And again, I want to get different types of lines, thick, thin, straight, curvy, all sorts. Okay, and then the last box down here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to, up here, I'm going to do a wash. So I'm going to get a little bit more water, add it to this marker, and just come across here. Now the nice thing about this is I can just clean that right up, so I can add more water to it and get a paper towel and wipe that away. Okay, so again, make sure that you are okay to do that before, or just do it on top of a styrofoam plate or something like that that can be disposable. So this last circle here, we're going to make a decision of using either the watercolor wash or the marker wash. And since I already cleaned mine up, I'm going to just go ahead and use my watercolor wash. But you can do either one. It'll do the same thing. So again, I'm going to get my brush wet, dip it in that watercolor paint that we're pretending is ink, and I'm going to come across here and try to make a value to make it look like a ball. And there you go. So there are your 13 techniques. I have them listed here for you. We did these in a different order. I went 9, 11, 10, 12. So just as you're looking at that. But I can't wait to see what you guys make, and I hope you enjoy these different inking techniques. What's really cool about ink is I could do I could draw first with Sharpie, and then I could come in and do kind of like a wash with one of these, and then once that's dry, I can come back over with my pen or with some more Sharpie and get some really nice textures and values to make my artwork look a little bit more interesting. So very cool. I hope you experiment with this, and I hope you enjoy this new technique. So don't forget to share it with me when you're done. Have fun, guys. Bye.